The Halo series has some of the coolest and most memorable weapons in video game history. Things like the Needler and Energy Sword are just simply iconic. But its newest entry, Halo Infinite, felt like it was missing a lot of these classic sandbox items. Now, that being said, it did introduce a bunch of new ones, some of which are definitely favourites of mine. The Shock Rifle and Ravager are really cool. And obviously, plenty of those fan favourites, the Battle Rifle, Energy Sword, Needler, Assault Rifle, still remained. But today, I wanted to list off 5 weapons that I'd love to see return to the Halo franchise, more specifically to Halo Infinite, at some point in the game's future. And yes, I know this is a topic I've spoken about before, but I've had a few people asking me what weapons I'd like to see come back in streams. So I thought it would be fun to revisit the topic, and I definitely think my list is a little bit different this time round. Especially since the last time I actually spoke about weapons I'd like to see return in Infinite, that was actually before Infinite had even released. But anyway, with all that out of the way, let's jump straight in. At the number 5 spot, we have the Covenant Carbine. The Carbine is easily a favourite of mine, but the reason it's only at the number 5 spot is simply just because I don't feel like it would do much to stand out in Infinite Sandbox. I don't really believe the game is in need of another precision weapon just yet, but if it were to ever add another one, I think the Carbine would be the perfect choice. Although here is a bit of fun trivia, the Carbine was actually planned for Infinite at some point. It can still be seen in one of the cutscenes on the warship Jabrakon level, and there was even an early model for the weapon that was leaked online. This version looking much more banished and having an energy sword bayonet, which would have been really cool. However, it is worth keeping in mind that the Carbine itself was probably cut really early development, and it's possible that its appearance in the cutscene is just a leftover asset from Halo 5, as the version in the cutscene doesn't match up with the supposed leaked model. Either way though, it is super unfortunate that the Carbine was cut, as I do absolutely love this weapon. The next weapon on my list is the SMG. Infinite does technically have 2 SMGs in its game, with the Needler and Sentinel Beam sort of filling that role, but the game doesn't really have any true SMG. We have seen a few different iterations of this weapon over the years, whether that just be the basic one in Halo 2 and Halo 3, the suppressed variant in Halo 3 ODST, and even the version that we see in Halo 5. If I was to choose one specifically, the one I'd want the most is the suppressed one, as I think that is the coolest looking version, but I'd happily take any. And although this doesn't technically count as the number 4 spot, I wouldn't mind seeing the suppressor either if they were to just use that as a Forerunner SMG, which is what it basically is regardless. And I'd be quite content if that was added over the SMG anyway. But like I said, if I was to choose one iteration of this weapon specifically, that would easily be the suppressed version. I just think it looks the coolest and is the most satisfying to use. The sound design of it and everything is great. But in my opinion, any submachine gun is a good submachine gun. Number 3's pick might be a little bit more on the controversial side, and that is the Railgun. I've always seen the Railgun as sort of like a mini Spartan laser. It's nowhere near as powerful as the Splazer, but is still a pretty deadly weapon. It does decent damage to vehicles and one-shots players. And if I'm being completely honest, I think I'd actually rather see the Railgun return over the Splazer. Don't take that as I don't want to see the Spartan laser ever return, because that isn't true. I would love the Splazer to return. But I think the Railgun also deserves that opportunity. They could either have like sort of a nerfed version that is on the same tier as the Hydra Launcher or Ravager, something that's still quite powerful and can take down players quite quickly, as well as dealing extensive damage to vehicles, or they can make it a power weapon and just have it as like a baby version of the Spartan laser. Hell, they could instead give us a mounted version, although this would basically just be the Gauss cannon with a charge. I've just always found the Railgun to be quite interesting, and definitely one that I think deserves to return at some point. Do I believe its addition is necessary? No, not really, but could it really harm anyone? Well, I mean, other than the players you kill with it. Moving on to our number 2 spot, and this one's definitely a popular one. This is the Sticky Detonator. The Sticky Detonator is probably the most popular weapon from the Reclaimer era. People absolutely loved it in Halo 4, and people have been asking for it to return ever since, so I find it very bizarre that it still hasn't. It's definitely one of the most fun weapons to use in multiplayer and campaign. But honestly, if they brought it back in Infinite, I don't think it would need to be brought back as a gun. They could instead do it as a piece of armor equipment. Have it function similarly to the threat sensor, where you sort of fire it off your wrist. I know the threat sensor isn't actually on your wrist, I just mean in the way that you fire it. And then upon pressing whatever button you have your equipment set to, the thing then explodes. This does have the potential to be quite overpowered though, because then a player could be equipped with grenades, a rocket launcher, and a sticky detonator all at the same time. So I think having it as a weapon would be much more balanced, but that being said, having it as equipment could be really cool too. And finally, at the number 1 spot, I know this is another popular choice, and that is the Brute Shot. Again, this one seems really weird to me. People have been asking for the Brute Shot to return for so long, and with the Banished being the primary antagonist in Infinite, mostly being made up of a bunch of brutes, it seems so bizarre that the Brute Shot didn't return. It almost felt like the Ravager was supposed to be its replacement, but I don't think these two weapons are comparable. One fires bursts of hot plasma, and the other is just a spiky grenade launcher, with some pretty fun movement mechanics. The Brute Shot would have definitely been a great addition to Infinite Sandbox, something fun and explosive. It would be great to have this thing in both multiplayer and campaign, and it seems almost criminal that it isn't there. But who knows, maybe one day we'll finally see this thing in the game. And that wraps up my list of 5 weapons I'd love to see return in Halo Infinite. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new here, as I really do appreciate it and it really does help the channel out. Let me know down in the comments what your list would be, what 5 weapons would you like to see return, and also let me know if there's any other top 5 videos you would like to see me do. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.